The wipers fought a losing battle. They slapped furiously against the windshield, only for the storm to smear the world back into a watery blur. The truck, a massive beast of metal and diesel, groaned as it pushed through the howling wind on the deserted highway. Inside the warm, dry cabin, Leo was a world unto himself. The radio crackled with static-laden warnings about the very weather he was navigating. His hands, thick and calloused, were steady on the wheel. His mind, however, was miles away on a warm bunk at the next depot, a hot meal, and the numb bliss of being done with this run. A flash of lightning tore the sky open. In that stark, white instant, he saw them. 3 figures, huddled and small against the onslaught, on the gravel shoulder. A man, his jacket plastered to his body, trying to shield a woman. And between them, a child, so small the rain seemed it might swallow them whole. They were less than silhouettes. They were shadows dissolving in the downpour. Leo's foot didn't even waver on the accelerator. It was an instinct, a rule of the road drilled into him by years and countless stories, * don't stop. Not at night. Not in this. It's not safe. It's not your problem, *. The truck's momentum carried him forward. The giant wheels sent a curtain of muddy water arching toward the shoulder. He saw the man flinch, turning his back to shield his family from the spray. And in that flinch, something in Leo broke. It wasn't a loud, dramatic shattering. It was a quiet snap, like the giving way of a thin, frozen twig. He saw his own daughter, years ago, laughing under a sprinkler. The same sighs. The same trust that the world was not a place of cold indifference. The memory was a physical ache. Damn it, he muttered to the empty cabin. The word was swallowed by the storm. His taillights, 2 red eyes in the darkness, began to grow larger on the wet road. He was slowing. With a series of hissing sighs, the air brakes engaged, and the massive rig shuddered. To a halt 100 yards ahead. Reversing was impossible. He threw on his hazard lights, a rhythmic, amber heartbeat in the chaos, grabbed his heavy-duty flashlight, and stepped out into the fury. The rain was a physical assault. It soaked through his denim jacket in seconds. He trudged back, the beam of his light cutting a narrow path through the vertical river. The family was frozen, not just from cold but from shock. The man's eyes were wide with a mix of fear and desperate hope. The woman held the child, who was now crying silently, face buried in her neck. "Can't leave you out here to become fossils," Leo shouted over the wind. "Cab's warm. It's tight, but it's dry. Come on." There was no debate. The gratitude in their eyes was brighter than his flashlight. He helped the shivering woman and child up into the high cabin, then the man. The cabin, once a solitary haven, was suddenly full. The smell of wet wool, frantic breath fogging the windows, and the profound, trembling silence of relief. They were migrants, the man explained in broken English, trying to reach a relative in the next city. Their car had died a mile back. No phone signal. They had been walking for what felt like an eternity. Leo wordlessly rummaged in his sleeper berth. He produced a thermos of lukewarm coffee, a bag of biscuits, and a dry, if slightly musty, blanket for the child. He turned up the heater. The simple axe, twisting the cap off the thermos, offering a biscuit, felt more sacred than any prayer. As the truck rolled back onto the highway, the storm outside seemed to lose its malevolence. It was just weather now. Inside, a transformation had occurred. The woman hummed a quiet tune to her now sleeping child. The man, after many quiet thank yous, stared out at the beating rain with a look of reclaimed dignity. Leo drove, his earlier weariness gone, replaced by a fierce, focused warmth. He didn't just drive them to the next town. He found the relative's address, a small house with a porch light glowing like a beacon. When they disembarked, the handshakes were firm, the woman's eyes glistened with more than rain, and the child, now awake, waved a tiny, solemn goodbye. Back in his empty cabin, the silence was different. It was no longer empty, it was echoing with the ghost of their presence, the faint scent of hope. He sat for a moment before driving on. He thought of the flinch. The moment he almost drove past. His life had been on one track, simple, solitary, predictable. But he had thrown the switch. He had chosen the inconvenient, the risky, the human path. That one decision, made in a heartbeat against the roar of the storm and the whispers of caution, changed everything. It didn't change the world. But it changed their world. And in saving a fragment of their world from the drowning night, he had accidentally salvaged a piece of his own soul he didn't even know was adrift. The road ahead was still dark and wet, but through his clean windshield, the way forward seemed remarkably clear.